Hello, today I am going to discuss about the poetic devices. At first, there is figurative language. It's an expression in which words or sounds are arranged to achieve the particular effect. First of all, we will discuss about hyperbole. It's an exaggeration of something. For example, I am hungry enough to eat a horse. Then, paradox. Paradox is a statement that at first appears contradictory but which on closer examination contain truth. For example, the longest shortcut. Then comes alliteration. It's the repetition of sounds in nearby words, usually involving the first consonant sounds. Example, she sells she seashells by the seashore. Then assonance, the repetition of sound in nearby words involving similar vowel sounds. For example, Moses supposes his toes are roses. Then connotation, the feelings and associations suggested by a word. For example, the difference between thrifty and cheap. Then irony, it's a difference or contrast. For example, verbal irony, situational irony, and dramatic irony. Metaphor, it's a comparison between dissimilar things but not using the words like or as. For example, life is a highway. Then comes simile. Simile is a comparison between dissimilar things using the words like or as. You sing like a misfring chainsaw. Then personification. It gives human characters to non-human things. The wind whispered through the pines. Then comes onomatopia, a figure of speech in which words are used to imitate sounds. For example, the bee buzzed. Oxymoron, a phrase consisting of contradictory terms. For example, parting is such sweet sorrow. Now, the next part is about poetic devices, the techniques used by poets to give their writing style, emphasis, and meaning. First of all, we will discuss about imagery. It's the creation of images using words. For example, in his famous line from Sonnet 18, Shakespeare creates an image by comparing love to a summer's day. Stanza, two or more lines of poetry that together form one of the division of a poem. The stanza of a poem are usually the same length and follow the same pattern of meter and rhyme. Refrain then comes a line or lines repeated at intervals during a poem, usually at the end of each stanza. A refrain serves to establish meter and tone, but it often gives a hint about the poem's message. Then comes rhyme. The placing of words with similar end sounds reasonably close together to emphasize the similarity of their sounds. It usually occurs at the end of lines, but it may occur within lines of poetry. For example, I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree. Rhyme scheme. The pattern of rhyme within a stanza or poem, usually is shown by marking each similar sound with the same letter of the alphabet. Then comes rhythm, a pattern of stressed and unstressed sound in poems like a beat in music. Now we will discuss about types of poetry. Blank verse, unrhythmed iambic pentameter, often resembling the rhymes of ordinary speeches. Blank verse is found in much of Shakespeare's work. For example, but soft, what light through yonder window breaks? It is the east, and Juliet is the sun. Narrator poem, a poem that tells a story. Ballad and epic are types of narrator poetry. For example, Alfred Lord Tennyson's Charge of Light Bridge. Next comes lyrical poem, a poem that is usually short and expresses a speaker's personal thoughts and feelings. For example, I wandered lonely as a cloud by William Wordsworth. Next comes a ballad poem, a fairly short, simple poem that tells a story. Ballads are often meant to be sung and are one of the earliest poems of literature. Before the written word was common use, they were a means of passing stories from place to place and to future generations. For example, Samuel Taylor Coleridge, The Rime of Ancient Mariner. The last is Elegy, a dignified poem mourning the death of an individual. Example, oh captain, my captain, is what Whitman's elegy to President Lincoln.